This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Brought to you by Fitness World, your fitness, your way. Visit fitnessworld.ca. One of the top trends in the fitness industry is the gamification of exercise. It has many benefits, including increased engagement, and often people are able to stick to their goals since it's fun and interactive. On today's podcast episode, we have Matt Wieteska, who's joining us from Six to Start. Six to Start is a company based in the UK that's been a leader in the fitness app space with the success of Zombies Run. Lately, they've been making massive waves with the announcement of their collaboration with Marvel. This summer, they'll be launching a new fitness app called Marvel Move that'll feature people's favorite comic superheroes. In this episode, Matt opens up about his team's learnings when it comes to fitness gamification, the importance of creating a safe space for online users, and how they built community in an online fitness space. Plus, he'll share his thoughts on landing his dream job in the fitness space. Before we get to it, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. Plus, we're continuing our gym and wellness haven tours that feature inspiring founder stories. We're on a mission for everyone to live a life fit and well. This is ATFW, and I'm your host, Chrissy Van. But first of all, Six to Start, what is it?
So Six to Start is currently an app company. We make fitness apps, fitness kind of adventures, as we like to call them. That's not always been the case. Six to Start began its life as a digital games consultancy. So Six to Start made alternate reality games for hire in the early days of its existence, including for Channel 4 and for the BBC. And I joined back then when Six to Start was kind of a digital agency in that early 2010s kind of period. But really, we had a big transition in 2011, 2012 when Adrian was really looking for a way to make a running game. This was in the dawn of the iPhone and smartphones and the App Store. And Adrian was really going through the beginning of his, well, not the beginning, but going through a journey with his running. And he was really keen to try and make a game that would work while you were running. And in parallel, he was having a conversation with Naomi Alderman, an old friend and colleague of his, who's an incredibly well-known writer now, a very famous novelist, most famous for The Power, which has just been turned into a TV show on Amazon Prime. Really exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And Naomi had just joined a running club, and the trainer was kind of asking everyone at the club, why are you here? Why are you wanting to learn how to run? Somebody in the running group said, I'm here because I want to make sure that I outrun the zombies. And that idea just kind of stuck in Naomi's brain. So then Adrian and Naomi came together, and as so often happens when the two of them get together, this great idea was born of a smartphone running experience where you would run from zombies. And we started making that in 2011. We kickstarted it then, and it's been a wild ride ever since, basically. So we've been making Zombies Run for over 10 years. I've been involved since day one as primarily the audio director. So I direct all the vocal performances in Zombies Run and our other audio experiences. And that's been Six to Start ever since, really. We make Zombies Run, which is the world's most successful interactive narrative fitness adventure. And now we're collaborating with Marvel on Marvel Move, which will be launching later this summer.
Yeah, that's really what connected me. Obviously, this exciting news, but it just so happens at time of recording, at the end of this week, it's National Superhero Day. So I thought it was the perfect time to have a chat. How much work goes into creating, like when it comes to Zombies Run, how does it work creating something that's working with somebody that's on the move at the same time? So how do you make that connection, basically?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a lot of that work has happened quite a long time ago for us now. We were really diligent and iterative in our early design process. We started out by, I think, kind of asking a lot of questions about what the person who's running actually needs. I think a common approach in some forms of kind of gamification is to really think about it from the top down. How can we change the person's behavior in a way that we think is going to be beneficial for them? How can we encourage them to run for longer? How can we encourage them to run faster and all these things? But we've got quite different opinions about how we can support the people who use our apps. And really what we want to do, our kind of ethos at Six to Start is we don't care how fast you run or how far you run or even how often you run. We just want to make sure that whenever you choose to do whatever your workout is, we make it better for you. We make it more interesting, more exciting, easier. We're just there to support you in your fitness goals. We're not there to impose our fitness goals on you. So from day one, that was kind of the design ethos we were really thinking about. So for example, we let people determine whether or not they're going to be chased by zombies, right? Not everybody wants to do interval training while they're running. And our zombie chases in the app, they function as interval training because they force you to sprint or they force you to accelerate at certain times that we choose. So that's not a mandatory feature of the app because not everybody wants to do that. And we let people choose how long they're going to run for, how fast they're going to run, all those things. We just take a step back, and whatever you're going to do, we're there for you. So I remember a lot of days going to the gym on the corner of Adrian's street because we were working in his bedroom, and jumping on the treadmills with like the test version of the app and just making sure that it was working for everybody. We were all going out for lots of test runs and things like that. And one of the things that was really bore fruit in that early design phase, I think, was we realized that it was going to be nearly impossible for us to figure out exactly how long somebody was going to be running for, because you don't know that yourself, really. You go out for your run, sometimes you get close to the end and you think, I'm just going to take the shortcut, I'm going to get home soon and my legs don't have it today. And sometimes, you're coming on the home straight and you think I could do another couple of K here, and you go around your extra loop and, so you adjust your running on the fly. And we realized that we couldn't really predict what the runner's route was going to be at the very beginning. So we added on an extra feature to the app called radio mode, which is a little bit like if you ever played a Grand Theft Auto game when you're driving from one place to another. So
robbed a few banks in my day.
Haven't we all? So you'll know when you're driving your getaway car and you're kind of zooming away from that bank, you get the radio station in the car and you get a little bit of music, but you also get a little bit of like chatter from the radio host. It's kind of funny and tells you a bit of something about Vice City or wherever you are. And it kind of fills the story in, but it's not really like important to what you're doing. And we realized that if we had a feature like that in Zombies Run, then the runner could listen to their episode, they could get to the end of that. And if they're still out and they're still running, they still have more distance to cover. We just switch into radio mode. We keep them in the world of the story, but we kind of lower the stakes a little bit. It's more comedy. It's a little bit more lighthearted. And that just means that, and radio mode is this kind of incredibly long set of clips that you can kind of never run out of, really. And that means that no matter who you are, even if you're out there training for a marathon, we've always got that extra bit of content to make sure you're entertained and motivated while you're out running.
Well, first of all, younger you must be so stoked that conversations you've had at work are, will they want the zombies to run or not? Which I'm
it's
sure.
Wild.
Exactly.
It's wild.
And I hope that you take time and space to step back and appreciate that, because I do think that's really cool. And also to be at the cutting edge of something that we're seeing really embraced by the fitness industry now. Gamifying fitness is a massive conversation. You're seeing all these different modalities when you're going out to conferences and things like that. Tell me a little bit about the demographic that you had for Zombies Run, and has that evolved because now, I mean, as you say, this has been going on for about a decade.
It has, yeah. I think if there's one thing we've all been surprised by, it's our demographic, actually, which is, and we love it. We absolutely love it, but it's really surprising to us. I think, if you were to kind of close your eyes in a black box and just imagine who might play something about running away from zombies, you probably have a picture of kind of quite young men, maybe quite early in their lives. They're excited by the idea of the adventure of it all. But what we found actually over time, although from quite early on, but over time, our audience actually skews more towards women. And we are still quite young, but I think it's kind of early to mid 20s is a real core of our demographic. what we find, because of the strength of the writing and the amazing characters that Naomi and the rest of her writing team have created, is that we have like a really passionate audience who've stuck with us for a long time. So we've got people who have been running with Zombies Run for 10 years now, and they've grown up and changed, and people who've brought their kids in to play Zombies Run as well, which is amazing. So we are not what you would like typically expect of kind of the demographic for zombie media, which I think is fantastic. I think another thing that's really important to me, and I know to a lot of people at Six to Start, is that we are an incredibly kind of diverse and really queer-friendly narrative world and company. And that means that a lot of people who might not see themselves very well represented in other forms of fitness media find a really safe home at Six to Start and with Zombies Run.
Very cool.
We call it like at Able Township because that's the name of the community in Zombies Run. So we have a lot of people reporting to us that like because we're really body positive, this was the first time somebody felt they were comfortable and safe exploring their own fitness with Zombies Run, or somebody who was going through a journey with understanding their identity or their sexuality. Similarly, finding it just a really supportive environment, and that's really meaningful to me. I think that's like it makes it really easy to get out of bed in the morning and start work when you know that you're creating something that's meaningful and helpful to people in their lives, whoever they are.
You know what I love about that is that, I mean, first of all, breaking down barriers in fitness can be a huge, huge step, and also a really daunting step for a lot of people, where
Mm,
they want to get started with something, and even just to move in general. I don't mean having a goal with an end date on it, just to get movement in your life. Sometimes that it's intimidating at first. So it sounds like you're removing that. And then the second part that I find that's so fascinating is that when you hear about gamifying fitness, you would think that that might risk losing an element of community, whereas the
mm.
exact opposite is the case. Because what people need to understand, if you're not somebody that has robbed banks in Grand Theft Auto, or maybe got lost in The Sims and burned a couple houses down there, that there can be a community that takes place as well. So is there
For
a
sure.
feature where people in Zombies Run then can interact with other runners, or how does that world work?
So we don't have any direct interaction within the app. That's actually a safety issue. It's
Fair.
yeah. One of the things that we have to be really mindful of is that people are sharing their location data with us. So we don't store that, or like it's not shared with anybody. People can store their own run logs on their phones and things like that, and yeah, we keep all the location stuff very private for very good reason. I think you can understand. But where we find the community evolving for Zombies Run and everything that we do at Six to Start is in the places where kind of fandom communities gather. So Twitter, Discord, forums. I think I can pretty confidently say that we're the only fitness app with more than 1,000 pieces of fan fiction on archive of our own. So people write fan fiction about all our characters. There's so much fan art. I don't know if I can show you, but my desktop is fan art of two characters that I created, and that's just kind of that's wonderful because that means that people are forming this really strong connection with the characters in the game. And something that really helps with that is, so you, the runner, when you play Zombies Run, we made a really intentional decision from day one that we don't know who you are and we don't know anything about you at all. So when the characters talk about you, we don't ever use gendered pronouns. We never, ever, ever describe anybody's body or anybody's physical features at all. And we call the runner character Runner 5, which is a kind of a code name in the universe of the game. But that means that whoever you are fully kind of supported and embodied by the way that we talk about the runner character. And that means that all of the people who play Zombies Run, who use it every day, call each other Runner 5. So when we talk to our community, we call them Runners 5. And there's this kind of really nice way that everybody can imagine themselves inside that community because of the way that the story is so well constructed by Naomi and her writing team.
Fitness World's 16 British Columbia high-value, low-cost gyms are committed to helping people reach their fitness goals, whatever those may be. Exercise and movement play a pivotal role in supporting people's overall health and wellness, and it is Fitness World's mission to provide the facilities, services, and amenities to help you achieve your fitness your way. Visit fitnessworld.ca for more information. I can tell even as you're speaking to it, obviously this has been a project you've been on for a long time, but I can tell how
Yeah.
much you love it still. And that's such an epic position to be in life. And honestly, I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of magic happens in people's working lives when they're able to blend the two and still have that feeling, especially since you're in such a creative space. So clearly things, big, massive things are happening on your end because all of a sudden
Yeah.
I see articles left and right. Six to start, Marvel moves, Marvel. Tell me how all
Yeah.
of this came to life. I want to know from the ground up because I'm sure there's been a lot of that giddy laughter that has happened at opening.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We're just so lucky. I think the collaboration really began with Ryan Panagos, who's one of the VPs over at Marvel. If you are on Marvel Twitter at all, you'll know him as Agent N. He's really big in the kind of Marvel online community. And Ryan played Zombies Run in the early days, and that's kind of how he got himself running, as I understand it, if I don't misremember his story. So Ryan has kind of reached out to Adrian and so was it Six to Start a bunch of times over the years. It's a kind of a really natural fit for the two companies because we put so much effort and care into our storytelling and our characterization. And that is absolutely true of Marvel as well. If there's anything Marvel comics are known for, it's this wonderful world of amazing characters. Everybody's got their own favorite Marvel character, which I think speaks to how great all these characters are. And I think also the styles of stories both companies tell. It might be surprising for a story about the zombie apocalypse, but Zombies Run is really optimistic. We really believe in the power of community to change the world and for like small, kind decisions to make big differences. And I think that's really true in Marvel comics as well. They're a really optimistic view of how individuals can affect the world positively. So it's been a natural fit really since day one. But the conversations went on for a long time, and it's just one of those things where you have to wait for all of the stars to align in terms of everything from us being in the right place in our company life cycle to Marvel being in the right place in theirs, and everything just has to line up all in one go, really. But the collaboration began in earnest. We started work on the project a little bit over a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit around about a year and a half ago. And honestly, it's just been an absolute dream since day one. The team at Marvel are just such fantastic collaborators. They're really committed to putting out the best product possible, the best tell the best stories possible. And sometimes you have a bit of fear. We used to do a lot of client work before we made Zombies Run. You have a bit of fear sometimes when you come into a new working relationship with somebody that the creative goals might be really misaligned, or even the way of working, the way of giving feedback might be misaligned. But with Marvel, it's just been such a great match since day one. It feels a bit like getting really lucky at speed dating. Like you just kind of click from the first moment, which is fantastic. So yeah, we've been working with them for about a year and a half, and it's just been a dream. It's such a joy to be able to tell stories with characters that I've known since I was reading comic books in my grandparents' corner store when I was a little kid. Like, it's just such a great thing to get to do. Now we got to finally talk about it after a year and a half of keeping it very secret.
Yeah.
Um,
I take it everyone was under NDAs until,
oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. We even had to, when we were doing the casting for the people that play the characters in the audio. We had to make a code name for the project and make up fake character bios so that no one knew what we were making. So people would come in and audition for all these made up characters that one of our directors, Ella Watts, had to spend a lot of time making up this whole fake story so that we could keep it a secret. But it was amazing. No one found out about it until we announced it, which is exactly what you want. And the response has just been phenomenal. So we're really, really pleased by how it's gone.
No doubt. So tell me about Marvel moves. What's the
Mhm.
experience going to be like? And what kind of learnings had you taken from Zombies Run that you were able to integrate into this?
The running, walking, jogging, whatever you're going to do with your body, whether you might be using a wheelchair, you might be using a treadmill, you might be using a bike, we are going to be there for you, whatever you're doing. So the workout experience is going to be very similar to Zombies Run. You decide you're going to go out for your workout, put on your headphones, you get yourself ready, you load up the ZRX app on your smartphone, and within ZRX, there's multiple brands. There's Zombies Run, there's Marvel Move, there's Ventures, which is our kind of anthology of extra stories. So you load up Marvel Move, and you choose the story that you want to run with, or walk with, or jog with, or wheel with, or cycle with, or whatever. Today, the story begins, and out you go and do your workout. You're going to hear a scene of our audio drama, fully voice acted, fully sound designed by, in my very biased opinion, the best sound designers in the world. These fully mastered kind of roughly 2.5 minute clips of audio that are really going to immerse you in this story. So you are a character in this story. You aren't listening to things that are happening to other people. You're right there running alongside Hulk, or fighting for your life, trying to escape the Sentinels with Wolverine or Jean Grey. Right in the middle of all these stories, you are the kind of main character with these superheroes all around you. You hear this absolutely amazing clip of narrative, and then you're going to hear a track from your running playlist. So whatever you were going to listen to if you were just listening to music, whether that's your Spotify kind of jams playlist or something a little bit calmer, whatever it's going to be, we'll give you a bit of music, and then we'll come back to you with the next clip in the story. Each of the episodes, each of the sessions, usually between kind of like 5 and 7 clips. So that's going to space out at your discretion. You get to choose how long it's going to last, but usually anywhere from like 20 to 40 minutes is a really good kind of length for these stories. And you're just going to be put right in the middle of your own like superhero action movie story that's going to turn your everyday workout into this just like thrilling adventure, basically. And then the really cool stuff happens alongside that. So while you're out on your workout, or in on your workout if you're using a treadmill, the app will occasionally let you know that you've collected an item from the world of the story. So while you're running through Manhattan, for example, in our Daredevil series, you might pick up some documents that are going to give you a clue towards the mystery, or a used subway ticket or something like that. And when you get back home, you can read about the things that you've collected. You can turn those into trophies that you can celebrate your achievements with inside the app. And the other really cool feature is that the story like doesn't stop when you get home. So at the end of a lot of our episodes, when you get home, you're going to get an email from one. If you sign up for it, you're going to get an email from one of the characters that you've just been involved in the story with. So that might be a letter from Jean Grey thanking you for your help with the Sentinel attack, or it might be a note from Thor and Loki kind of arguing with each other about who gets to take credit for your success. And it's just a way of really bringing the story into the rest of your everyday life and really helping you kind of stay connected to that story world, so that next time you're ready for a workout, you're already halfway in the story, you're already ready to go again. So there's loads of stuff going on, and it's just super exciting.
Well, especially from where this all began, how did it feel for your team? Because you talked about when Zombies Run was coming to life, the amount of runs that you were all going on to figure out and work things through. So talk me through that first experience where you got to immerse in the Marvel world.
Oh, it's wild. Yeah, we don't have to go out for quite so many training runs anymore, which is a good thing, because I've got to keep to my own schedule. But we know how the app works, which is great. I think that's the one thing that has been really helpful, is that we know for sure how well our experience works. But it's been absolutely amazing. You know, when we've been hearing the audio come over from the sound team, having worked on those performances, and then the first time we get to go out and head around the block, and we've got the X-Men in our ears, or we've got Hulk in our ears, and you just completely transform the landscape around you. And it's like being a kid again, honestly, a lot of the time. Like, you remember playing superheroes with your friends, and imagining that, the corner of your street is this kind of adventure. You're down in the sewers, or whatever you're doing, kind of pursuing some bad guy, and now you can do that in your street every day, whenever you choose to work out, and it's just amazing. It's really exciting, and our artists getting to work with these incredible characters and create such wonderful artwork for us, and all of the writers working on the project are just like, holy, I get to work on these things. This is amazing. Like, because these are all the stories that that anyone kind of our age and a little bit older, like, this has just been the story since we were so young, and yeah, it's amazing to be part of that legacy in a small way. It's fantastic.
Well, and I think what's probably going to end up really cool from this as well is that not only are you making this something that's really exciting for us big kids, but it's also a really wonderful way to get. I know you talked about some people that get their children involved and things like that.
Mhm,
And again, sometimes it's just more challenging in our lives than ever to get moving, whatever that is, exactly as you
for
say,
sure.
whether it's wheeling, walking, running, but we all know how healthy and good it is for us to move our bodies. So you're just really breaking down the barrier and making fitness fun. I think at the end of the day, that's what it
Exactly.
should be for everybody is a lot of fun. Where do you think the future of gamifying fitness is going? What do you see if you look in that little magic crystal ball?
Well, I think that the core of it is that we have to be able to uh, help people find the right motivation that's going to last and that's going to really stick with them. I think Adrian, our CEO, actually wrote a book about gamification that came out last year called "You've Been Played," which is really insightful about how gamification can be this real double-sided coin. And there are techniques that we can use that can really help people overcome their own challenges, but there also can be techniques that can be quite dangerous. Slot machines use a lot of kind of gamification techniques to encourage people to stay and gamble for longer, and that's obviously kind of a harmful path. Where we've found a lot of success that other people or other companies haven't replicated in similar ways is that I think that we approach our gamification from this lens of like, how can we support the user in their goals, and attempting to kind of remove barriers and help them find this kind of competence and kind of like growth based relationship with what they're doing, rather than loading on top a whole bunch of extrinsic motivation. So just getting extra points for the things that you're already wanting to do. All that does, in my experience, is mean that when you do meet an obstacle, it just makes you feel more guilty about the way that obstacle affects your routine. So if you miss a run or you're ill for a period of time, all you can think about is all the points that you're losing, right? And you don't refocus on how you can regain that feeling of competence, rebuild that relationship with your body. And hopefully that's the kind of thing we can help people with. I think you see a lot of interesting experiments as well that overcome some of the barriers that people might have in finding fitness routines that work for them. So things like Ring Fit Adventure isn't, um, in my opinion, as kind of supportive and detailed as we are in Zombies Run, but it is something that's very, very accessible to a lot of people and can really help them change the way that they interact with their fitness at home. Where I'm personally very excited to see is how people can develop holistic and supportive methods of helping people with their fitness. And I'm always going to be slightly skeptical and hesitant about things that are much more sort of technological first and very heavily about points and reward cycles and those kinds of things. I think those have to be designed very, very, very carefully to avoid being a little bit abusive.
Kind of good to vocalize that because it's a bit of a cautionary tale too for people that are looking for the right fit for themselves. It's a
Right.
consideration to have, absolutely. And maybe it's kind of an element until you say it that I wouldn't have even thought of personally, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense. On that
Yeah.
positive side, how does it feel for you to have had such a tremendous impact and being able to witness this community and knowing that You really are blending these two amazing worlds.
One of the sides of this whole conversation that is often left behind is kind of mental health. And exercise can be so fundamental to people's mental health journeys. And that's something that we see a lot with Zombies Run. And I think that that's something that really resonates with me. And it's an absolute blessing, really. Like, it makes it very easy to get through the hard days because you can remember that there's somebody out there who's finding it really helpful that you're doing your work. And yeah, I think it also bears with it a little bit of a responsibility. We have to be very mindful of like the duty of care that we have to our users, and that when you build something that's meaningful to people, you then have a relationship with them that you have to think about carefully and be responsible for. So part of my job is being a part of the editorial team for the scripts that we commission, not for the main Zombies Run story, but for Marvel Move and for some other things that we do. And it's always really important for us when we're thinking about the stories that we're telling, that we remember that the people who are listening to our stories are in a physiologically altered state. You know, you go running and your body is full of hormones, you're full of adrenaline, your guard is down, you're in a vulnerable state because you're making this decision to go and choose to do something hard with your body. And that means that there are types of stories that we could tell that we choose not to, because we know that they might affect people really differently. And we don't ever want to accidentally cause harm for anybody because they're listening to one of our stories while they're in this more vulnerable position. So there are a lot of types of story that you might get in a normal zombie apocalypse story that we won't touch on because we know we've got our duty of care. And when we're making decisions about the types of stories we want to tell in other aspects of our narratives and in Marvel Move, we make sure that we're being really mindful of those boundaries, I suppose.
I'm sure that you have many in the community that have the countdown on. So if people have been listening and they're like, when can I actually try Marvel Move? Tell me about the launch and what's that going to look like?
Well, I can't give you a date. We've said so far this summer. That's all I can tell you. What will happen is the ZRX app is going to be available for you to download on your app store of choice. It'll be the one app, the kind of central hub for narrative fitness. We'll be launching with a certain selection of storylines, and there'll be regular content updates from day one. And hopefully you'll find yourself just quickly becoming immersed in this story. There aren't many more details I can share right now. I'm listening to the audio every day and working with the actors every day and working with the writers every day. And it's a dream. And I can't wait for people to hear these stories and take their place center stage.
Well, either way, the countdown is on. Before I let you go here, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. I always end my podcast with a favorite quote. It can be something motivational. Maybe it's from the Marvel world. So what note do you want to leave us to take us for the rest of our day?
Oh, that is a real on the spot. I think one of my favorite quotes is from a writer I really admire, which is Kurt Vonnegut, who wrote some fantastic science fiction. And I think I'm going to mangle the quote a little bit, but the quote from Kurt is that there's only one rule I know of, baby. You've got to be kind. And I think that's a good motto for life.
You've just listened to All Things Fitness and Wellness. This episode was brought to you by Fitness World. Your fitness, your way. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss out on hearing from industry thought leaders and influencers. We are on a mission to help everyone live a life fit and well.